Hello, everyone. My name is Troy Mix, and I'm Associate Director with the University of Delaware's Institute for Public Administration, IPA for short. Welcome to the second edition of a new Lunch and Learn webinar series co-sponsored by the City Management Association of Delaware and IPA. Today's topic is communicating with constituents during crisis, and we have two speakers today to share how their municipalities are responding. We're also going to ask some polling questions today. So I'm going to introduce Christine Ho to launch the first question, which asks you to identify how your city or town communicates with the public primarily. Take it away, Christine.
So your answers that you can choose from, and you can choose multiple, are people were answering calls and emails, there was an email distribution list, recorded phone calls, information on websites, social media, news media, other or none of the above. And I'll just give you guys a few, maybe like 10 more seconds to answer, and then we'll carry on.
Are we good, Christine?
Yes. So it looks like tied for first was sharing information on website and social media with 73% each. And it looks like the least popular was recorded phone calls at 27%. Second popular was answering calls and emails, and email distribution lists, which had 60 and 53%.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much, Christine. We're going to push forward, and I'm happy to introduce Krys Johnson, who is Communications Specialist with the City of Rehoboth Beach, to take us through their response.
Hi, thank you, Troy. This is, like I said, this is Krys Johnson. I work in the Communications Department for the City of Rehoboth Beach, and I'm just going to briefly talk to you today about our overall crisis communication plan. I guess, thank you. So the next slide, a little bit about why this is so important. Definitely conversations about the coronavirus have grown in numbers and are a top of mind concern for all of us, especially the public. And there is really a pressing need for local governments to provide the public with relevant and reliable information. There's such a massive amount of online conversations and news sources, and also coupled, with varying levels of public concern and a lot of fear, quite frankly, it's making it very hard for the public to really extract and process the right information. So all the while, comms teams have a huge workload right now, and prioritizing is really essential. So this reality of where we are right now really makes the inherent challenges of local government communications really even more difficult to tackle and so much more crucial. So definitely the right messaging, it makes a difference between an informed, really responsible community and a panicking one. So PIOs really need to answer questions such as, where are your residents gathering during this crisis? What message really resonates best with your community? And how do your city communications not get lost in the flood of information that's out there? So I know at the City of Rehoboth Beach, our goal is to help by providing information to our community's needs. These are based on conversations across channels like our social media, our local media, and all of our media platforms. And we continually try to promote the mutual exchange of knowledge, and that the identified trends and conclusions really help our city to quickly obtain the best practices and really apply them to our messaging efforts. May I have the next slide, please? Thank you very much. So I just wanted to briefly talk about our crisis communication plan and some of the, thank you very much, thanks. The crisis communication plan. So certainly this plan is part of our overall city's emergency operations plan. We have assembled a crisis management response team. That's the most critical function to begin with. The City of Rehoboth Beach, we have a team that's comprised of senior management from across the business. We represent key, really community-facing and internal administrative roles. So this includes reps from our elected officials, administration, communications, emergency responders, operations, and legal. And we also have extended teams off there that include, you know, this could be reps from IT, finance, supply chain, as well as regional representatives. So I wanted to really concentrate a little bit, you know, more on can I have the next, wait, can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Thank you. Hello?
We can hear you, Krys.
Okay, sorry, there was a bunch of static that just came over. I'm sorry about that. So these are some of the tools that the city uses to communicate. I just wanted to really, there's a list here, but I really wanted to point out too that we're very important how we communicate with our constituents. We have a Civic Web legislative portal. This is designed specifically to promote open government. It's very easy to navigate and access information. We have live streamed our meetings at the city for quite some time. And during this pandemic, we're now using video conference technology to reach our people during our public meetings. This portal is a great resource. It has a calendar to find upcoming and previous meeting information. You can subscribe to e-updates about meetings that interest you. This really keeps our public informed during this time when obviously our city hall is closed and we're not having meetings in person. It has a meetings tab to review information. You can search e-resources, watch live stream, meetings in progress. Is just a wonderful resource. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is a good example of government communicating really well with the public, and that is sending automated alerts. The city of Rehoboth Beach, we use the Code Red notification system, and I think some of the other local towns around here use that as well. The system serves as the foundation of emergency planning and communication to citizens, our business owners, city personnel. Uses the system's capabilities to send. This is via telephone calls, text messages, and emails. So that's something that you can choose how you would like to get notified. Our city manager and mayor send these messages timely, and we've been doing this for years now. Our community has been very appreciative of this and really expects them. So for more information on Code Red, I added the website there if you'd like to take a look. May I have the next slide, please? Okay, so I wanted to kind of give you a real-time example of an action flow of an issue that we currently had to communicate very quickly from start to finish. And that is the closure of our beach and boardwalk. So when the governor issued an order to close the beaches, we had to communicate that information very quickly to the public. Within Governor Carney's order, he left it up to local authorities to restrict exercising and dog walking on the beach. And the city went one step further. So we enacted a restriction within the city of Rehoboth Beach to not allow that. So our crisis communication team, you can see for this particular instance, was made up of our key personnel, which is our mayor, city manager, myself in communications, our director of public works, police chief, our police PIO, and our city attorney. So I know, like many of you, I'm a department of one person, but I'm part of this team. It's just an exceptional team in the city of Rehoboth Beach. I just must say that, which is really helps to, I have to write the message and craft the message. And certainly I can't do it without this great group of people. So our CCT has the authority to fully respond and to quickly respond, regardless of an incident. And our team always, no matter crisis or not, whatever PR we're working on, really mirrors the structure and culture of the city. We always have a strategic communication plan in place and a designated spokesperson. I can't stress how important that is. And I'm the official media contact and spokesperson a lot of the time as well. We, as the city of Rehoboth Beach, speak with one voice. We have a coordinated, unified message. which in a crisis situation is just mandatory. When you have several people who are communicating with the media without coordination, the result is really detrimental. So as you can see from this action flow, we took steps and we provided information. It took a total of 2.5 hours to get this information out. Certainly, there were many more hours our staff needed logistically to close the beach and boardwalk, but because of these communication kind of protocols that we have in place to begin with, we were able to quickly close our beach and boardwalk ahead of the governor's order. So just to give you an idea from my office, the press office, I kept a tally, and within the first 24 hours of issuing this press release, I received over 20 press inquiries that resulted in interviews, and along with, we had a massive response from the public via phone and email about this this issue that, of course, when we closed the beach and boardwalk. So I just wanted to kind of give you a high level look at something that needed to be done very quickly and how important it is, and obviously the right information in a timely manner. This next slide that you're looking at just gives you an idea. I also do a lot of the PIO work for our police department. So this is a post that I added on the police department Facebook page on, let's see, then March 21. But you can see how critical social media is. We had almost 126,000 people that this reached immediately. So this was a hot button issue for us that definitely we needed to get the accurate information out right away.
Hey, Krys, before you continue, there was a question that came in, and they asked, did the city declare a state of emergency as well?
Yes, the city of Rehoboth Beach has a civil emergency that Mayor Paul Coons did issue, correct, in addition to the governor's order.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So let's see the next post. I just put some recommendations when sharing information on your media channels. There's just so much information out there. I just kind of picked a top few that just makes it consistent, as your messaging is the same and a unified voice. I can't say that enough, how important that is. But also, you know, the one thing that I get asked the most with all of these media channels that, you know, our city has, and when I'm speaking about the job that I do, the number one question I get asked from people is, how do you deal with the press? So I thought I would talk a little bit about that. So, you know, dealing with the press, it does not have to be a negative event. You know, as long as you are prepared with your key message and identify who in advance is delivering that message, anticipate some questions, especially the hard ones. Answer those difficult questions, you know, as briefly as possible, and then really bridge back to your key message. I always say, listen to these questions carefully before responding. Ask for it to be repeated if you don't understand it. And you know what, if you don't know the answer, say so. It's okay. Tell the reporter where to find that information as possible. You know, the media is not your advertising firm. Their priority is to inform the public, which is what you're trying to do as well, but they are not your spokesperson. And in my experience of years of doing this, you know, a good reporter will write a fair, balanced story, and they want to get it right too. It's you know, my goal is always when I'm working with the press to build these long-term relationships with these news organizations. This not only benefits the city, but it benefits me and how I can effectively and professionally do my job. So I always want to say as well, you are going to deal with reporters that are rude. And I'm noticing rudeness now more than ever. So why is there such an obvious lack of respect to the person being questioned? You know, it's just a tone of society. I think it looks very bad for the reporter, but don't take it personally. Don't be afraid to walk away. You know, if the situation crosses the line, just try not to get flustered and frustrated. Certainly if it gets to the point where you feel people in your organization are being personally attacked, you know, it's wise to follow up with their news organization. And the number one thing, there's no such thing as off the record. Don't say anything that you don't want to see in print, you know, on the air, or especially Facebook. All right, may I please have the next slide? Thank you. So I always say keep calm and carry on. I think this is still a really relevant statement. I know times have changed since the government created this iconic poster in 1939. No question, it was a brilliant slogan, and it still is. So in a PIO position, you're always in the hot seat, the firing line, shoot the messenger. But people that are really working in the front lines of communication, we have a critical voice in helping people, and to stay calm and focused and engaged, and to be clear and plan for, especially this intentional redundancy of your message, especially in this health crisis, and to focus on the facts. It's also, when I'm writing for the city and delivering the message, it's really helpful to be human and demonstrate empathy. People are really scared right now, and a lot of them, we don't have answers to their questions. So I think at the same time you're clear about the present, what we're going through, as much as you can be during this time. It's really important also to focus on the future and help people find hope in this chaos. So I try to be very selective about my words and the message that I'm constantly writing and delivering for the city. And I find that, overwhelmingly, it's a positive resource. And in turn, that is, you are a positive resource. And it really does help you to stay calm and carry on.
Great. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, Krys. I really appreciate it. Before we move on to our next presenter, we do have a polling question. And this polling question is just going to ask how much you agree or disagree with the following statement. So, I am confident that our constituents understand changes to service delivery due to the current crisis. And if you could just please enter how much you agree or disagree with that statement, and I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Okay, great. So the majority of people said that they agree, so I think that's a pretty positive thing. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Christine, and thanks, Krys. Our next speaker is the Director of Economic Development and Community Relations with the City of Seaford. So pleased to welcome Trisha Newcomer. Trisha, you might need to unmute if you're there.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Troy. Technology at its best. I've struggled all day with this computer. Anyway, glad to be here today and talk about what we're doing and a lot of the significant changes that we've seen within our agency. So if you want to go ahead to the first slide, I wanted to talk a little bit about the internal communications first, because that really is kind of where everything we've done has come from. We really had to sit down and evaluate what is our new norm, where are our staff going to be, what capabilities will they have. We're doing a half on, half off type working environment, meaning half of any given department is home for a week while the other half is in actually working. So we wanted to really figure all of those things out, and we knew we had a couple things in place. We have a free conference call line that we've always had and always used. We did sign up for the Zoom conferencing. We've been able to do some stuff with internal communications, like our staff meetings, those sort of things, because a lot more can be conveyed when you actually can see somebody's facial expression versus just over a conference call line when everybody's trying to talk. It actually makes a meeting flow a little bit easier for us. And we have what we call our unified command, and that is made up of our fire department, our police department, and then the city. And we had a meeting early on to create an incident action plan. Our chief from the fire department actually laid it out. I think it's a 25-page document that really talks about everybody's roles through the whole pandemic, what each agency is going to do, what our messaging is going to be, who's going to make those messaging. There's 3 people that are identified. You've got a PIO from the police department, the fire department, and then I'm actually the main person that's actually funneling the information out. So we're all kind of meeting pretty much on a routine basis. We actually meet twice a week with that group via conference call, and just kind of find out where everybody is, what message needs to be delivered, what's working, what are we hearing from the constituents, that sort of thing. So if you want to go ahead into the next slide. We have at the city talked probably, I would tell you, for the last 2 years about live streaming our council meetings, and it's always been deemed one of those things that, yeah, that's just a nicety. You don't necessarily have to do that. For various reasons, budgeting, those sort of things. It's never really been something that we've tackled. And through all of this, the governor's executive order obviously presented a huge challenge for us. And we were trying to figure out, okay, do we just go ahead and do, we had looked into Zoom and tried to figure out, do we just do a low platform thing for now and then do what we intended to do? And our council agreed that, now's the time to go ahead and pull the plug. They definitely deemed the reasoning behind all of this to go ahead and be able to live stream. Unfortunately, we had our social media platforms set up, Facebook, and then YouTube. We actually have had a YouTube channel where we do videos and we'll store them there, and we haven't had too many, but we did create that early on, which helped us tremendously, already having a length of time. And then we went ahead and subscribed to a restreaming service so that when we do go live, it'll push out across all those media outlets and let folks know. We've actually created a link on our website that you can view it there if you don't have either of the social media platforms. So that we've done one council meeting. So far, we haven't had any public hearings. That's going to pose a whole different challenge. Our next public hearing isn't scheduled until the end of May. So we're kind of hoping and crossing our fingers that we don't have to cross that hurdle, but we are working on developing some plans now as to how we are going to handle that. But the first stream went pretty well, other than some sound issues. So moving on to the next topic with public awareness, one of the things that we have seen, as I mentioned, with our YouTube channel, through social media and through our insights and statistics, video tends to get the most engagement. People work in sound bites. They want to be, they just want to hear it real quick and then move on. You definitely don't want to have to stop and read a whole lengthy text if you're trying to communicate something. So early on, we started with the hospital in our school district when we were actually still allowed to come together in a collaborative manner, and started putting out a weekly message. What was going on in the hospital? What were they seeing? What was going on with the school district, now that school wasn't happening? And we've managed to maintain that frequency. In fact, we just filmed another one this morning that will go out later this afternoon. It's changed from what it started out as, where we would have everybody together, where now each agency is filming their own, and we take that and combine it and then push that out. And again, I am just a staff of one. I do rely heavily on our city clerk for some of our Facebook messaging, some of our constant contact campaigns, but as far as the video side of things, that falls primarily on me. One of the things that I would caution anyone when they do this, we got sort of skewered a little bit, if you will, in that the first couple ones we put out, we did not close caption. And YouTube actually has a very unique feature that if you upload the video and it sits for a little bit, it will develop a closed caption for you. You have to go back because 9 times out of 10, the words that are being said are not the exact words on the closed captioning. So sometimes it's just easier and faster to listen to it and just type it verbatim. So that has lengthened some of the time. We obviously are in election season, and I'm sure everybody's heard and is watching to see how our election goes. Our election was supposed to have been last Saturday, got moved to May 16th. And our Board of Elections is really pushing to use the absentee ballot as a method, but we will have a polling place, and we will push out another video next week To talk about that are the gentleman that actually sits on our Board of Election. I filmed with him today, and our city clerk, and really kind of give the details and how you fill out your absentee, how you acquire your absentee, what does it look like if you choose to come to the polling place that day. So those are some of the type things. And then just putting out information on events. Our Nanticoke River Fest got canceled. We do an annual cleanup week, and that has gotten pushed back. All of those type things, we're trying to put out in small video type series. So if you want to go to the next slide. And then through all this, we all know that anxiety can get the best of us, and we want to do our best and be diligent in putting out as much information as we can to our community. But we also know that that can tend to elevate anxiety. So we wanted to come up with, be creative, some ways that we can engage our community to do some positive things. When all this first came about, we had to cancel our annual Easter egg hunt. And so we put out on social media everybody to go ahead and download that page, have your kids color the eggs, put them in your windows. And then as folks were out with their family members out and about in the community taking a walk, make it a game, count the number of Easter eggs that you would see along your walk, those type of things. We also put out a chalk the walk activity where we were having people leave messaging for our frontline workers, either on their sidewalks or out in the street, and then tagging the city so that we could share that community-wide. So those are some of the things that we try to do to break the monotony, to promote the positivity in all of the crisis that we're going through. Can we go to the next one? Additionally, we sit on the weekly office. DPP is actually pushed out 2 business surveys. We've been able to field that out to our businesses as well to get that feedback. And really, we share that with our members of council, and we're taking a look at it. It's not necessarily down to our finite, what's within our community, but it does give us a picture of what's going on and how we can be supportive of that. Again, trying to find creative ways to do that. So if you go to the next slide, one of the things that we did early on when things were starting to close, particularly with the restaurants, there were a lot of takeout, but they weren't getting the word out. So we actually put out a first push of all the business or all the restaurants within our community, what their hours were, what they were doing. Was it just drive-through service? Were they doing curbside service? Those sort of things. That was pushed out originally. And then we sort of took a nod from the city of Salisbury and promoted what we're calling takeout bingo. And it's a sort of a bingo of sorts, meaning you don't really have to get bingo, but we have a bingo card with all of our businesses or all of our restaurants on there. And how that works is you patronize any 4 that you like, minimum purchase of $10. And then we have set up an email address. You have to send in copies of your receipts and you can enter as many times as you'd like, but it just has to be 4 receipts at a time. And then the 18th, I believe it is, of May, we'll actually do a drawing for 4 individuals to receive a $50 gift card to a restaurant of their choice within our community. So again, that money is going to go back into our community. And then some Seaford swag that we're going to throw in there with that. So that's been pretty well received. It's something that's, sort of hokey, but for opportunity to help promote our businesses and help promote what's going on in our community. Other than that, we're just staying as closely connected to all of the agencies as possible, trying to be nimble as possible. Services obviously are reduced. We have had some people that have minimal complaints, but once you explain to them, they just don't understand that, you know, all of staff is not here. Once you explain those scenarios, everybody's usually pretty good with it, but we're holding our own.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Trish. That takeout bingo idea is really neat. I like that. So before I turn it over to Troy with some reminders, we do have one final polling question. And again, this is going to be one just saying if you agree or not. So the presentations gave me ideas on how our city and town can improve communications with our constituents during this crisis. And again, I'll just give you a few seconds to answer that. Okay, great. So most of you said agree. So that's fantastic. So now I'm going to turn it over to Troy.
Great. Just a closing pitch for next Friday's webinar, which is focused on telework and, you know, sharing some tips and tricks on how to keep staff motivated during this time where people are working remotely. And we're going to have Jamisha Eddy, who is Human Resources Administrator for the City of Milford, as a speaker next week. Reminder, webinar recordings are posted. The first one's up there. This one will be up here soon. They're on the IPA site, so bidenschool.udel.edu/IPA, and you can find the training page on the IPA site or on the Complete Communities YouTube channel. Just search for Complete Communities on YouTube and you'll find that. So share it with your colleagues if they couldn't join today. Look back if you need to find things that you heard today. But share the word and get more people here next time. We've got a great attendance today. So happy to see that. And thank you to the speakers today for sharing their information. Thank you to everyone for joining. And really, you know, stay well and best wishes for a wonderful weekend. Thanks again.